Yo, I'm back. Back with another one. I don't know. Stretch. Alright, so. Excuse me. I'm just gonna. I planned on writing out something about this, but yeah, I'm just gonna just talk. So, I'm pretty sure. Okay, look, I'm definitely. I'm 100% positive everyone is still up in arms about, the whole Thundercats roar BS. So I've been taking a couple of days to like legitimately think about it, and I was looking for someone to blame, someone to point the finger at, and I just thought to myself, instead of doing that, right, I should take a second to think about, how we got to this point where stuff like this happens.
Take a moment to think of just flexibility, love, and trust.
I mean, because as it is right now, Cartoon Network it's failing miserably. It's not even in the top 10 list anymore. Like as it is right now, Cartoon Network is a joke. So I thought I'd just take a second, you know, do some research, and come to some conclusions about what exactly has put Cartoon Network in this place. Because I grew up watching Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network was where I went to get all, not all my cartoons from, but a good majority of them. Space Ghost, Yogi Bear, Augie Doggy, Augie Daddy, all that good stuff. When I wasn't watching Doug, Ren and Stimpy, or Hey Arnold, or all those other, when I wasn't watching all those other things, I was on Cartoon Network. But I'm pretty sure we all know this right now. Cartoon Network launched in 1992. It's owned by, Turner Broadcasting System and Time Warner. Okay. And through the 1990s to early 2000s, Cartoon Network had a myriad of shows. Ooh, excuse me. And it was pretty much where Hanna-Barbera and all of these great guys got their start at, right? Johnny Bravo, I'm Weasel, Cow and Chicken, Dexter Laboratories, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Samurai Jack. All of these cartoons were on Cartoon Network between 1994 and what was about 2006, 2007 ish is when that God, we don't talk about seeing real. That, oh my gosh, seeing real was bad. It was a mistake in the worst way. And the person who came up with that, honestly, they should feel ashamed of themselves. That was tragic. In my eyes, when they started the seeing real crap, well, let me take that back. Crap. It wasn't crap. I mean, yes, it was visual crap, but some people liked it. I'm just gonna refer to it as a mistake. When the seeing real mistake happened, a lot of these shows that we all grew up with. I'm 27, so yeah, I grew up with a lot of these things, and I introduced other kids to these things, my nieces, nephews, stuff like that. And around that time, a lot of these they ceased to exist. There was no more Camp Lazlo, no more Life and Times of Juniper Lee, no more Puffy Ami Yumi, no more Ben 10. I'll get into what happened, what was done to Ben 10 later. That correlates into my point that I'm making in this. But I gotta check my time status. God, this is gonna be a long one. Whew. Okay, so around 2006, 2007, ownership was changing hands. People were getting fired and people were getting hired, and that's around where this crap started. And things just started to go downhill from there. We started losing content. We started losing shows. We gained a few, what was it? Chowder, uh, The Amazing World of Flapjack. Wait, The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, I believe it was. I can't really remember the name. All I know is that there was episodes in that creeped me out. Johnny Test, Mucha Lucha. We gained a few things, right? But we lost a vast majority of what was done before. I'm pretty sure they still have the rights to these things still in their pocket, but you will never see them again, right? Adventure Time, regular show. At that point, the art style took a large shift. The art style and the overall feel and genre of the cartoons took a shift. Things weren't so episodic, but they leaned more towards being slice of life. I personally really liked regular show. It resonated with me a lot because at that point in time when regular show first aired, I was doing a lot of the stuff they were doing in regular show. Sure, I was still in school and whatnot, but I was going through I couldn't get a job, didn't have a job. I wanted a job, trust me, I wanted one, but I couldn't find one. But I still did stupid little things to keep a little bit of pocket change, and hanging out with my friends and playing video games, and oh gosh, I'm not saying it was great, but I'm not saying it was bad either. But regular show really resonated with me because that was my life at that point in time in a nutshell, minus all the crazy gags and the guy being named Trash Boat, which is still hilarious, by the way. I almost got suckered into a bet. Oh my gosh, I'm glad I won. But that's another story for another time. But at that point in time, the writing and the way things felt took a dynamic shift, and this is a fairly recent thing where they've been calling it cow arts, where the overall general structures and how they look are very, very similar between completely contrasting animations. I'm not generally upset about that. I honestly don't care because it's like I said before, we unintentionally copy. I'm not gonna say copy. Copy is too strong a word. We unintentionally emulate the current popular style, and we incorporate that into our ever evolving style. Especially if you don't have a defined style yet, you're still learning and you're still trying to create your own. You'll sometimes unintentionally incorporate other styles and other things that you've been inspired by in the process of making your own. So back to what I was saying, how we gained things and we lost a lot of things. Now, y'all might not remember this. Well, to those who are not within my age bracket, Cartoon Network was also known for airing a lot of anime with a very specific time block set aside for this. This was known as Toonami. I remember Toonami from way back when. We all remember Tom and Tom 2, right? But little did you know, Toonami was originally hosted by Moltar from, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, from Space Ghost. Space Ghost Coast to Coast was a little Adult Swim thing that came later on when around Adult Swim first started. They did the dun 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 dun, and that was that little jingle that they had, and then be all kids out of the pool and stuff like that, and then they'd start showing the more mature cartoons. That was where Space Ghost Coast to Coast thing came in. But I digress. Toonami was a couple of hours that they set aside to show the majority of their action and anime-based shows. Toonami itself, despite being a hosting block, was its own episodic thing too. That's what made Toonami cool. Toonami had its own story arc, it had its own characters, it had its own interactions in its own universe, as the robot Tom 2 headed an intergalactic spaceship, which also worked as a broadcasting station, which was sending, the content to us, the viewer. To those who don't know this, Toonami had used to do events, actual contests that you could enter into and participate in, and determine the outcome in the world. There was I'm trying to remember. There was one really really big one that it completely changed the entire show dynamic. It killed the original Tom and it gave us Tom 2. There was a whole online game that they had going on that that you participated in, you played in, and you learned a little more about the backstory, what was going on. That was essentially what made Toonami great, plus the anime and a lot of the action shows, Rurouni Kenshin, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam, Robotech. All of the good things had came on Toonami. Oh, and Hamtaro. I loved Hamtaro. Hamtaro was the best, hands down. Period. I don't care what you say. But yeah, going into the 2000s. All right, continuing on what I was saying before. The change in dynamic. By this point, there was indeed a change in dynamic, right? And Toonami was having troubles at that point in time. They changed it up again. Now, mind you, Toonami has its own universe. There are, if you know your backstory, you'll know that there are multiple Toms. And it went from Tom 2, who we knew, to transitioned over to a different Tom that was stationed on a planet. He didn't do anything other than him and his team, and that was what they doing. It was research facility, whatever. And that's where Toonami's downfall started. They lost a lot of content. They weren't getting their hands on anything, and it was very, what we were getting was very scarce in comparison to the original Toonami, that primetime block, when kids were getting out of school and we sit down and watch for a few hours till the end of the night. Then we get those few transitional shows, and then it would go into Adult Swim. Adult Swim also primarily dabbled in a few anime in the beginning. That was where we got a lot of our more mature anime, coarse language, graphics, stuff like that. And to those who haven't watched Yu Yu Hakusho, go watch Yu Yu Hakusho. That's a cult classic in my book, alongside of Big O and Cowboy Bebop and Gundam 00. It's not Gundam Thunderbolt. It's a 0079. I can't remember which one. It's been a good, I'd say 12 years since I've even thought about that Gundam. But it's one of the classic ones. I can't. I'll probably remember the name later. I digress. Toonami was entering some troubles, and this coincided with the troubles Cartoon Network was having as a whole. They were losing viewers. They were losing content. So, 2008 hits. We get a few more things. You get George of the Jungle, 16, Total Drama Island. We lose a few more things. Samurai Jack ends. A lot of these other shows end, and some of them just straight up disappear. We won't be seeing any more of them. Right? Courage the Cowardly Dog, Powerpuff Girls. Powerpuff Girls does make a return. And, we all had, this Rising Phoenix type of deal going on, idea in our head, and it was, oh my gosh, it was so disappointing. It wasn't even funny. But, at this point in time, Adventure Time and, all these other guys, they were ending. And, new stuff was coming in. Crypto the Superdog, Foster Home for Imaginary Friends, blah, blah. These are returning. These few things that we're getting back. And then, seeing real.